Does it come out for you naturally as well?
Sometimes, well, or something like that.
Bad word.
I mean, is that a bad word? I didn't know that was a bad word.
Right. Good morning.
Good morning.
I love how Nicole is always so smiley in the morning. We were talking about working overseas actually. We were like, we need another perspective. Where are we gonna find it? We found Danny and then we were like, let's come over to the studio and talk about it. Then my question to you guys now is, have you guys ever worked overseas or ever thought of working overseas?
I know you have.
I know. Yes.
I have not. This is my overseas.
And Danny has. Danny,
Yes,
this is her
and this is
overseas.
also my overseas.
Yes.
But I've also worked another overseas before. So,
Okay, so you're the most experienced out of all of us.
She's the most international, Miss Worldwide.
I worked in Shanghai for 6 months. I did like a short internship, and I've always afterwards had dreams of working overseas, but yeah, just a little bit scared, to take the jump.
Yeah.
So
Why scared?
I don't know, it's scary. It's scary, no?
It is scary.
Yeah. And it's I think there's so many options out there, right? Like when you're looking at where to go, it's like, do I choose like Vietnam, Bangkok, Hong Kong? Like how did you eventually settle on Singapore and how many years ago was that? And how did you get a job? So many questions. Tell us everything.
Okay, number one, Singapore, there's not going to be any language barrier issues. I feel like Singapore is a really good financial hub, so there's definitely going to be opportunities in finance here. And I don't know, I just always had a draw to Singapore. Like I'd never even visited before, but my granddad, he was Irish and he was actually stationed in Singapore.
Wait, it's giving like invisible string theory.
Yeah. Always connected.
Yeah, and I think that was probably like before Singapore was even a country officially, right? So yeah, he always said that it was his favorite place on earth. I think it was probably very, very different back then with like all the kampongs and stuff. Yeah. But I just thought, okay, why not? I'll give it a go and move here. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, I had a job offer and then they applied for my e-pass for me.
So in your experience working in Singapore, do you have like any culture shock?
Yes. To the point where now when I go back to the UK, I feel like that is a culture shock for me. Yeah.
Okay.
So like here, I really love how you can just kind of like chope a table with like a packet of tissues or some random...
Such a CBD culture. Like
yeah. Or like I even saw someone, when I first moved here, I saw someone chope a table with an iPad and I was like, right, okay.
Singaporeans are a little too comfortable.
Yeah.
So comfy.
No, that would be gone in a second in the UK.
So out of curiosity, what is your relationship status? Like, is it difficult to date in Singapore?
So I actually met my husband when I was living in Singapore. So he's Singaporean. Yeah.
Wait. Is Singlish attractive? As a Singaporean, I don't know.
When he talks to me, at least, he doesn't have a very thick Singlish accent. So can one.
Wait, so you do know Singlish?
Yeah.
Do you hear it a lot at the workplace, or is it like as you walk the streets kind of thing?
More so like in the hawker centres, I would say. Yeah.
Can la, this one leh.
Yeah, la le. I don't mind throwing that on the end of stuff, but it's
Okay.
What about you?
My parents came over from like Tanzania to Singapore to work, and I grew up here, so I'm a PR. My dad made a bold decision to like come here, work for a year to just see how the landscape is like in Singapore before he moved our entire like family here.
Did he struggle like with integrating in?
Interestingly, I think he didn't. He picked up all the slangs, all the like Hokkien, Malay, Chinese, so you can like converse with
Impressive.
yeah, because his name is Walter, and then it sounds like water, so like Achu.
Atsui.
Achu, yeah. Which is water in Hokkien.
That's
I
quite
think.
endearing.
Right?
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's
so
a cute nickname.
Yeah. So like, so that's his nickname in like when he started working out in Singapore.
But that's still a big deal, right?
Yeah.
Like I just moved by myself. I didn't have to think about anyone or like I didn't have any responsibilities, whereas that's a really big deal to move with your family somewhere to, have a
Yeah.
better career and things.
Yeah. What do you do then?
I've been living in Singapore coming up to 6 years now. I'm a private wealth manager. I'm on an e-pass over here. My role is mostly client facing. We work with affluent and high net worth clients.
It's not easy, I'm guessing, to land a job in another country. What's your secret sauce?
I guess definitely my educational background helped. So I have a master's degree from a good university in the UK, and there was a lot of mathematical equations. Those kind of skills can be transferred to the work that I do now. So I felt that I could bring that and share that with local colleagues. But then they also helped me quite a lot because I'd never heard of CPF or anything like that before I moved here. So I had to kind of learn all of these things as well.
Okay, so I'm quite curious to know because obviously I've not worked in a different country before, but what's kind of like the difference between working here in Singapore versus like the culture back home?
Yeah, I think it's quite different actually. For example, in the UK, I didn't work in London, so I can't say what it's like in London, but where I worked, it's quite laid back. You know, people kind of clock in, clock out, and when they're supposed to, and go about their day and their evenings without really kind of thinking too much about work. Whereas I think here in Singapore, sometimes I feel like the work-life balance is a little bit blurred here. I don't know whether you guys feel that as
100%.
well.
I also know that a lot of local companies are still choosing to have employees come in every day to work, right? Like, is that something that you have to deal with in your line?
Yeah, I mean, not so much now after COVID, but before COVID, especially in my line of work, because we have to go out and meet clients a lot of the time, right? So sometimes it's actually counterproductive being in the office. Sometimes I suggested like, hey, isn't it a good idea that, you know, you don't come into the office today because you've got meetings in X, Y, and Z places. So I think kind of this flexibility of hybrid work is a lot
Love it.
better. Yeah.
One of my ex-bosses, he was from New Zealand.
Okay.
Obviously, he brought a different perspective. It was quite a culture shock for me as well. It was very different. It's not always about the bottom line. It's always about just making sure that we're happy, we're accepted, and we're okay with our jobs.
Then for you, Nicole, how was, because you worked in China, I mean, you interned
Yeah.
in China for a while, right? Was that like very different for you or?
Yeah, China gets a reputation for being like a very, you know, like the 996 culture where they work like really, really long hours. But I didn't really get that. I was working for like a publication, like a English paper, and they hired like a mix of like local Chinese people and a bunch of like foreigners from like Australia, Netherlands, like quite a mix. And it was very nice because you got that blend of like Chinese culture and people who appreciated Chinese culture and were like curious about China, right? So they brought their sort of like global perspective mixed with like the local perspective, and then it was just a lot of learning and like it felt like a cultural exchange. So I really liked that dynamic, diverse environment.
Actually, on that note, I'm also quite curious to find out, right, personally for you,
Yeah.
did you feel like, were there any challenges assimilating into the work culture?
When I moved to a Singaporean company, it was me and 3 Filipinos, and everyone else in my team was Singaporean. So that I felt was sometimes a bit of a culture shock, especially if locals have never worked with a foreign professional before. They might think that I'm not going to understand their perspective or kind of what they're talking about or where they've come from. But actually, it doesn't matter where you come from, right? You can still empathize and get to know that person's point of view.
Or have you ever felt treated a little differently from your colleagues, your local colleagues, just because you are different from them?
Yeah, but I took it as more of like a positive thing rather than a negative, because I think that they saw that I could bring something different, like a different perspective that maybe they couldn't see. When I was working at where it was mainly Singaporeans, I think they thought that I could bring kind of a different client base that they weren't able to, because maybe they don't know a lot of foreign professionals, or they were still in the process of kind of figuring out how to connect in that way. So that I already know that, right? I am a foreign professional, so I find it quite easy to connect with people in similar situations. So I think they saw it as, I guess, an asset in that way.
Yeah, I reflect on sort of, you know, working with non-Singaporeans in my job as well, because we're like a financial paper. So some of them come from other countries where I guess like the finance way of doing things is slightly different. So they bring that regional, worldly, more global way of like thinking.
Like learning about like different countries' politics, and
Yeah,
how it affects certain things, right?
correct. Because I mean, you're very used to how things are done here, but like you wouldn't consider like how Malaysia does something, right? Or like how Indonesia does something. So Yeah, it's very interesting.
Exactly. Yeah. And it doesn't always have to be a competition or, overlapping of work and skill set. You can still work together and collaborate, but bring something different and unique, right? So, yeah.
I guess the reason why Danny is here is because, as you know, Singapore is a very small nation with an aging population. So I guess foreign professionals in the workforce are meant to be complementary rather than competitive, right? Because it helps plug immediate skill gaps and seize economic opportunities for companies. And I think it also helps us as a country attract more enterprises and global founders to come look for like a safe and trusted hub to set up their companies in. And this also helps us create more job opportunities on the ground, so it benefits locals as well.
Exactly. I heard like over 54,000 jobs were created actually. Yeah, by foreign investments and all that.
So we need to remain open to these complementary professionals so our workforce can be diverse and productive.
Well said.
What was that moment where you realized like, oh, I'm one of them now, or like they have accepted you, you're one of us now, you know? Like, is there like a moment like that, like I'm Singaporean?
After work and stuff, like we go to very Singaporean places and then maybe like go sing KTV afterwards and stuff like that. Yeah.
That's very Singaporean. So Singaporean, yeah.
Yeah, if they invite you there, you're in.
Yeah, you're in a circle now. One of us.
Especially if they ask you to sing Chinese songs as well.
Do you sing?
I try, but
Wow, that's impressive. Okay.
Do you have Singaporean friends, and like do you guys hang out on like the weekends? What do you do?
I joined a dragon boating team, and they also do outrigger
Okay, that is so cool. That is so cool.
Yeah. I met a girl like at a pub quiz, Singaporean girl, and she was like, "Hey, you should try dragon boating with me," and I was like, okay, sure, I will. So I went along. She was like, oh, there's free beers after training. So I was like, okay.
That was the sell.
That's why I went. But no, I really enjoyed it. So now I do it properly.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
I feel like most Singaporeans don't even want to do dragon boating.
Yeah, I'm very proud of the fellow countrymen for being so proactive.
Yeah, and like
pitching this as a sport you should get into.
So it's like a real mix. There's locals, there's people from the UK, even Kazakhstan. It's a really great way to meet people, and then we just kind of hang out afterwards and chill. So yeah.
And how has it been so far living in Singapore? Has it been easy?
I won't lie. I think when I first moved here, I really struggled. I found it really lonely. And maybe that's my own fault because I didn't kind of put myself out there and like meet new people. So I found this Facebook group for young Singapore foreign professionals, and now I'm in charge of it. And I met loads of friends from this group. So I thought it was important to kind of pass that on and ensure that other people meet nice people from the group as well.
So what are your plans for
The
long term? Yeah.
Yeah, as long as I can work here, I want to live here. My husband's Singaporean, so, I feel quite rooted here. Like my now family is here. So, I want to continue living here until I'm ready to retire, I think. That's the plan. Fingers crossed, yeah.
Do you have any advice for our dear friends here who are wanting to work overseas?
Traveling really helped me kind of explore the different cultures and kind of do a test run to see where I wanted to live. And I guess just always be on the lookout and always be open to kind of upgrading your skills and just giving it a go. Because I always think if you don't do it, like for example, if I didn't move here and I was still living in Birmingham, I would probably really, really regret not having that experience, right? Yeah. So I think just do it whilst you can, Don't leave it until say, oh, I'll do that next year, just do it.
All right. Okay, thanks so much, Danny, for sharing. It was so interesting to hear actually everyone's perspective. Yeah, working with different people. And yeah, love that. I love the diversity here.
Thanks, guys, for having me.
Thank you. That's all for Tea Talks. We're doing Nicole's signature. Bye.